Have you ever found yourself scrolling through social media, maybe for just 30 minutes, and then you put your phone down and just feel drained? Like you've run a mental marathon? Well, you're not alone. Today, we're going to dig into the real science of why our brains get so exhausted online. So, let's get right to it. Why does this happen? And the answer isn't as simple as, oh, we just spend too much time on our phones. Nope, there's actually a much deeper, more fascinating psychological reason. It has everything to do with how social media has completely flipped the script on our social lives. All right, to really wrap our heads around what's happening online, let's start with something we all get, real life. I want you to imagine your social life is like going out to a restaurant. Now, take a look at this comparison. On the left, you've got a real restaurant. Think about it. You choose who you're sitting with. You've got a table for your family, a different one for your close friends, and a totally separate table for your work colleagues. Each table has its own private conversation, its own vibe, its own inside jokes. It's all neat, organized, and most importantly, you're in control. But in the virtual restaurant of social media, well, it's like someone came in with a bulldozer and knocked down all the walls between those tables. And this, right here, is where that deep feeling of exhaustion really begins. To understand why, we need to look at a classic, super important idea from sociology. So, there's this really famous sociologist, Erving Goffman. In his groundbreaking book, The Presentation of Self in Everyday Life, he came up with this idea that we're all kind of like actors. We have a front stage self, that's the polished, professional version of us we show to the public. And then we have our backstage self. That's the completely relaxed, goofy, unfiltered you that you only show to people you really trust. And boom, this is the core of the problem. Social media takes your front stage self and your backstage self and shoves them together onto one massive, chaotic stage, in front of literally everyone you know, all at the same time. This whole phenomenon actually has a name, and it was coined by a pioneering researcher named Dana Boyd, a real expert in this field. She calls it context collapse. It's the reason that joke you meant for your college buddies is suddenly being seen by your boss, or that political post you shared for your activist friends is being read by your sweet old grandma. Trying to perform for all these different audiences at once? Well, it's just mentally exhausting. But wait, it gets even weirder. Because this virtual restaurant we're all sitting in, it has a manager. And this manager isn't a person, it's the algorithm. And this is the part you really have to understand. A manager at a real restaurant wants you to have a nice, comfortable experience so you'll come back. The algorithm? It could not care less if you're comfortable. Its one and only goal is to keep your eyes on the screen for as long as possible. So how does it do that? Well, this is where it gets a little sinister. There's a lot of credible academic research, including some from places like Northwestern University, that shows these algorithms are specifically programmed to find the most emotional, high-conflict content. So this manager is actively searching for the loudest, angriest, most controversial strangers it can find, and it pulls up a chair for them right at your table because shouting matches and arguments are incredibly engaging. So, what happens to us psychologically when we're stuck in this loud, chaotic, algorithm-run restaurant day in and day out? Well, the results are pretty serious. First, let's look at our real-life tables. We start phubbing, phone snubbing, where we totally ignore the actual human being sitting right in front of us. Academic studies on what they call digital commensality, which is really just the simple act of sharing a meal together, confirm that this behavior seriously harms our most important real-world relationships. The impact on our own self-worth can be absolutely devastating. One key academic study found that for adolescents, being constantly exposed to all this algorithm-driven negative content led to a 23% decrease in self-esteem. Just let that sink in for a second. A 23% drop. That is a staggering number. And the data, it just keeps piling up. As you can see here, tons of academic studies confirm these strong connections. There's a powerful link to the fear of missing out, or FOMO. We now know that heavy users are at 3 times higher risk of feeling deeply socially isolated, and there's even this new term for the constant low-grade stress we feel from a feed we can't predict: algorithmic anxiety. Okay, I know, that all sounds pretty doom and gloom, but here's the good news, and it's really important. We are not powerless here. We can absolutely take back control of our own mental restaurant. Let's talk about how. Look, the answer isn't necessarily to delete all your apps and swear off the internet forever. The real goal here is to become a smarter, more mindful customer, one who knows exactly how the restaurant is being run.
The key to this whole thing is developing what experts call algorithmic literacy. It sounds complicated, but it's not. It just means learning the rules of the game. Once you understand that the algorithm is designed to make you emotional, you can stop falling for its tricks. You can start managing your digital space instead of letting it manage you.
And here are some dead simple, practical ways to do that, all backed by psychological research. Set time limits for your apps. Be the ruthless curator of your own feed. If an account makes you feel bad, just unfollow it. Turn off all those notifications that are designed to pull you back in. You can also add a little friction by moving social media apps into a folder, so you have to actually think for a second before you open them. And maybe the most important one of all, make a real effort to prioritize face-to-face time with the people at your actual table. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. It's your brain. It's your attention. It's your peace of mind. If you were the manager of your own mental restaurant, what would your house rules be? Who gets a seat at the table and who gets shown the door?